Madam Secretary, thank you to you and your team for being here today. And as you have heard in your conversations, there are major financial issues ahead. I want to dig a little further into the finances of your department. One of the things that we routinely see is agencies asking to hold on to money that was appropriated in prior fiscal years. Process is commonly referred to as a waiver. Did your department request a waiver to hold on to prior year money in the most recent fiscal year?
Yes. Currently, the three major funds that have a waiver.
Tell us how much.
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us how much?
Yes,
if you've asked for
I'm going
waivers,
to.
three funds, how much?
The SCI fund is at $6.7 million. The medical fund is $32.7, and field supervision, $6.6.
How did your department come to have that kind of money left over at the end of the fiscal year?
Primarily for the medical fund was anticipation of, as I mentioned earlier, the new RFP that was in solicitation previously, as well as with our 340B savings at times, that has been volatile on what that savings is. There's a lot of pressure from pharmaceutical companies to try to limit 340B entities from saving this money, but our savings was over the anticipated amount. We saved roughly $39 million in 340B expected for this year and $30 million last year. So it's been increasing. So that's why you're seeing the medical fund being the waiver being that much, and that our direction from GBO was to use that in anticipation if our MAT would continue to grow, as well as the medical RFP.
I'm glad you referenced that, because in your exchange with the gentlelady from Luzerne County, you indicated that you reissued the healthcare contract. What's going on there? Why is there a delay?
The delay was in regards to the cost submittal forms. It was an administrative issue. The DGS made the decision to reissue the RFP here in the next few weeks, and then have the opportunity for those prospective vendors to rebid, focusing on the issue of the cost submittal and some other issues.
Is that something that we will have in a time frame that will allow us to factor that into our budget process?
As I mentioned previously, it's not going to come to fruition, probably at least at a minimum 3 months that we might have an understanding, if not 6 months for the total contract to be renewed with a new prospective vendor or the current vendor. The current contract runs this currently till August of this year.
Very good. Thank you for that clarification. I need to ask this because we are really trying to look throughout those couch cushions, as you have probably heard many of us say, trying to keep our costs down. Do you expect to have any extra funding left over after the current fiscal year?
No, we do not. And part of that, as I mentioned, when GBO did cut us roughly $10 million from our original request in the SCI fund, but we don't, and then the 6.6 in the field supervision, some of that is funding to when they issue the body cameras and that contract. So some of that residual was left over for field supervision for that manner, and I already commented on the medical fund.
Very good. Our appropriations staff, they regularly review agency restricted accounts. And this year, not in your department, but in another department, noticed that there was a $15 million revenue deposit into account that normally only receives about $1.5 to $2 million each year. Now, of course, the account, as noted, was in another agency, but such a large deposit really jumped out to our approps team. As we worked to gain an understanding of what happened, we learned that the bank account that was used to collect credit card revenues was never fully set up, and the bank had been holding the revenues that were due to the Commonwealth for several years. So we raised this at an earlier budget hearing, but since then, have you confirmed with each of your program staff that the banks you use to collect revenue are correct and timely in sending that revenue to the Commonwealth?
We're not a revenue generating agency, Senator, so that doesn't apply for us.
You do not collect any revenue in any way from any entity?
No.
Okay, very good. Briefly, you touched on body cameras. We're hearing concerns about the rates of prison violence. Your written testimony indicated high rates historically. If the General Assembly were to authorize corrections officers to utilize body-worn cameras, is that something the department would be interested in implementing? And do you anticipate that it would have an impact on violence rates?
Absolutely. We've been supportive of body cameras on the corrections officer side. I mean, the good news for us is that we can start it on the field side, and we're close to the rollout right now, and iron out the kinks and develop the policy and really learn from any issues that we have before we could do that. I will tell you, full transparency, the union is not supportive, but that would be something that we would continue to work with them, as the parole staff have done, with sharing the policy and really doing a nice job with messaging. What I also will tell you is I've had lots of conversations with other states, as you mentioned, who have rolled out body cameras, and they have seen a decrease in serious incidents, uses of force, and really, I think once the staff saw the value and benefit, because these cameras cover areas that may not normally be viewed from, you know, fixed cameras in a hallway or what have you, they have seen those decreases, so I think that would be a benefit. One thing to know that we did look, and it would probably be about a $5.6 million project on the institutional side, because of course we're dealing with a lot more staff. And then the field side, it's about $2 million. So it would be significantly higher. But yes, we've looked at it. That's something that I've talked to people. That's probably at some point where we will go. But again, right now we are focused on getting the rollout on the parole side, which will occur this year, and hopefully as soon as this spring, we'll be rolling out the body cameras on the parole side, and then able to potentially look to that in the future. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because it is absolutely something that we are considering.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.